Khartoum tells us is that the human price of this war is very, very high, much, much higher than that has been reported. The main cause of death, if one survives the bullet, is hunger and disease. The indirect causes of death in humanitarian conflicts is almost always overwhelmingly due the driver of mortality, especially as the war continues. I remember speaking to a colleague in El Janina when the war first broke out. And he said the same thing that our study revealed. He says, if you put your finger out, you will be shot. If you survive the shooting, you will die of hunger or of thirst or of a disease that you cannot cure. That is the situation across most of Sudan, unfortunately. And our study only highlights that. I think that our deaths, historically, war or no war, have historically been invisible. And if you take it back to crises like COVID, and we die, unfortunately, to the outside world silently. And I think this was our effort and continues to be our effort, not just in Sudan, but in other places where the team works across many conflict areas, in terms of really trying to quantify the true toll of these conflicts. Because the challenges are very, very real, we do not have a vital registration system in Sudan anyway. The only reason why you would need a death certificate in Sudan is to somehow process through some inheritance. So many people will die at home, will never be recorded, a death certificate will never be issued. Even if it was issued, that is not counted in a mortality, estimate of any kind. And then comes the war, and you overlay that on top of lack of access, people cannot report, the internet is shut down. Wars are often a fertile ground for deaths to happen invisibly. And that is by design. So it is not surprising that anybody who goes out to try to measure those deaths will find it very difficult to do so. This was our effort and continues to be our effort in Sudan and elsewhere to really make clear the human toll of the war on Sudanese lives. We think that the mortality rates in other regions of the country will be worse probably than in Khartoum. Historically, Khartoum has had relatively better infrastructure, better access to healthcare, better access to remittances from the diaspora, therefore more income to enable you to access better services across the board. Now, when you take that or apply it to contexts like Khartoum, like Kordofan and Darfur, which not only suffered from less resources, but from historic conflict. So, there's a famous book called The Body Remembers. The body remembers when you are displaced once and you are displaced twice and you are displaced 3 times. By the time you end up in a displaced people's camp somewhere, miles away from your home or across a border, you are much more likely to die of disease than you were if you had never been exposed to conflict before. So I think, again, there are so many regional contrasts here. But I think what we see in Khartoum is unfortunately the very tip of that iceberg. And really the message that we want to give to people is here, we're not putting out these numbers so that we can have a mass funeral. We are putting out these numbers because we want to tell people, here's a chance to have the biggest opportunity for lives saved across the world right now, given the size of Sudan. There is a huge chance to save lives and to protect what is left. And there's a lot in that. And we really want people to look at that and to make decisions based on information. And that, that's really what drives us.